What's up, guys? Here we go. We are down to 3 divisions left to get done in our training camp preview. Perfect timing. Going to be able to finish all these before we go live on the 25th. Here we go. All right, guys, here we go. Let's jump right into everything. Today, we are going to start the AFC North. Now, I was trying to figure out in which order I wanted to do these. Obviously, we do 2 at a time. And I decided to do the rivalry first. We're going to do the Ravens and the Steelers. But we're going to start with the Steelers. So, here is the thing about the Steelers. All of their fans are tired of people dumping on their team, and they're really hopeful that all these moves, because they're not normal moves for the Steelers, that all these moves will make this year just be a little bit different because they're always just so good. Here is something. Here's a reality. At some point, it comes time to pay the piper. It happened with the Patriots. It happened with the Colts. It happened with the Cowboys. Remember, the Cowboys were that team that for years was just kind of middle ground. You weren't sure how they were making the playoffs. You weren't sure what was going on. They kept going like this, but they always seemed to be there. The Steelers have made the playoffs a lot. They have backed into the playoffs even more than a lot. Times that they don't deserve. They've been smashed in the playoffs a lot. So here's something that I want to throw out there. I don't think anybody is really dumping on the Pittsburgh Steelers as much as just looking at the way everything kind of plays out. Mike Tomlin is absolutely one of the best coaches in the NFL. He has absolutely done everything that can be expected of a coach with what he's been given. It's a defensive culture, a defensive mindset. It's old school. It's 70s. And when it comes time to actually compete at the highest level, they can't. It's not something that's way out there. It's the reality. Okay? This is going back to 2017. Okay? They won 13 games in 2017. Lost the divisional round. They were above 500 but missed the playoffs the next 2 years. The last 5 years, they have made the playoffs 4 times. 12-4 year with Roethlisberger. The last year that was actually halfway decent. Lost the wild card. 2021, 9-7-1, lost the wild card. 2022, 9-8, didn't make the playoffs. And the last 2 years, they've been 10-7 and lost the wild card. Now, I have said this organization is one of the best. They win because the organization wins. Because as an organization, they are better than at least 1/3 of the league, if not half. And they're probably better than even more than that, but the gap becomes much, much smaller. The Pittsburgh Steelers have adopted a philosophy that has put them into a situation where, honestly, they can't compete in the playoffs. So let's look at the depth chart. The strongest position is linebacker. We know that. TJ Watt, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Alex Highsmith, Malik Harrison, and Jack Sawyer, and Cole Holcomb are second stringers. The linebacking depth is insane. They drafted the defensive tackle out of Oregon, Derek Harmon. Cam Hayward thinks he deserves more money. He doesn't. He is old. The bull crap that he put up there about just looking at the way I played, I want to feel like I'm valued. I'm really getting sick and tired of it. I'm sorry. In no other organization is a defensive tackle saying that. You're 36 years old. The Steelers have kept you around. Be happy about it. If you don't play this year, oh well. I mean, really. At some point, you're just like, Calais Campbell's done a lot, but he's not the same. So, defensively, they're really good. I think their secondary is questionable. Darius Slay has lost a step. Jalen Ramsey obviously has lost a step. Joey Porter Jr., I think, is going to have to be a really good nickel corner this year for their pass defense, should they not get to the quarterback, to be able to hold up. Slay can be beaten. He's slower. Ramsey can easily be beaten. He gets lost a lot more. It's unfortunate. I thought trading Minkah was a stupid decision. Absolutely stupid decision. Minkah was a leader. He was a very good free safety. We've seen what the Falcons have been able to do with Jesse Bates. Having that back-end guy that you can just rely on is priceless. And Ramsey, once again, more expensive. Now, I do love them getting Jonnu Smith. Absolutely love that pickup in the trade that they made. But the reality is they have a huge strength, defense, and they have a huge weakness, offense. Who's the number 2 receiver behind DK Metcalf? We had this discussion last year about George Pickens. Who's the number 2 receiver? You've got Calvin Austin, Robert Woods, Roman Wilson, Scotty Miller. I would argue the best secondary option behind DK is going to be Jonnu Smith. And that's not good. Your offensive line, the middle is an absolute mess. Broderick Jones, we're going to see if he can really play. He's got to show up. Troy Fautanu needs to play to an extremely high level. But your core, you lost Dan Moore to the Titans. James Daniels goes somewhere else. You lost the middle. You lost the middle of your offensive line, and it's not good. Just bull rush the middle, guys. Leave the tackles alone. Like, legitimately, if you're the Ravens, I am zone blitzing every time. If you're the Bengals, I am zone blitzing if I am Al Golden every time. If you're the Browns, I am stunting Myles Garrett to the middle and having him push with Mason Graham every time. The core of their offensive line is junk. Their defense is outstanding. The problem with fanatics in football is you can't have any reason with them, and that's why fans are a part of the game. Fanatics can make it fun. But without them, then there's no hype, there's no hope for the season. So I get that. But don't argue with the people that are... The way the middle of this offensive line is playing out just doesn't look good. You can't have this bad of a central offensive line. The fans are every bit a part of this. The hype, the drama, and everything else. And without them, obviously you don't have a sport. But you have to understand two things can be true at once. You have to understand you have one of the best defenses in football as far as a pass rush. The front seven, bar none, top 3 in the NFL. Your secondary ain't that strong. You've got names, you don't have production anymore. And that's the issue. And then you've got a old quarterback that cannot move, who showed you last year in New York when he had his own guys, Devontae. He had really good running backs, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen. A better offensive line than this one. Better receivers. He still couldn't win. Give me a break. Because of your defense, you'll easily be in more games. 100%. Let's look at the schedule. I mean, they got $19 million. They can make some moves. I spent a lot more time on them than what I was planning. But I've seen so many people getting tired of everybody dumping on them. It's not dumping on them. When you acknowledge how good your defense is and how great your organization is, that's not dumping on you. It's pointing out you got flaws. And they're big. And they're big neon lights streaming at you. That's all. All right, the first 6 games for the Steelers are as follows. At the Jets to open the season, home against the Seahawks. At New England, home against Minnesota. Then their bye week is week 5, which for the Steelers is not going to be great. An older team does not need a week 5 bye week. They needed one in week 12 or 11. But nonetheless, so they get a bye in week 5. Then they come back and they play Cleveland and Cincinnati. So they have a relatively easy first 6 games they play. The toughest games, I would easily say, is Minnesota because it's across the pond. Everybody reacts differently when you go over to Europe, okay? It's not a slight, it's the reality. We've watched teams that are winless win over there because it's the ultimate field leveler. So I'd say Minnesota and then the road game against Cincinnati are probably the 2 hardest. The third one is probably Seattle in week 2. But you can easily, through those first 6 games, go 4-2. You could maybe even go 5-1. Maybe. If your offense hits. If your offensive line can protect against Seattle's pass rush, protect against New England's pass rush, protect against Minnesota's pass rush. Cleveland always plays you tough. I know Steeler fans hate this. Cleveland has played you tough and knocked you off. So you cannot count out the Browns. Do I think they're going to be a threat? No. Could they because of their defense? Yes. Could it be a knockout, drag-out 10-9 game? Absolutely. But then, the minute you get into the core stretch, at the Chargers in week 10, Cincinnati, at Chicago, Buffalo, at Baltimore, you're going to lose. And you're going to lose a lot in the second half of the season. The teams are just better than you. And yes, Cincinnati is better offensively. Their defense is everything, and we'll go over them tomorrow. Joe Burrow is probably it's one of the most unfortunate circumstances to have a quarterback of Joe Burrow's ability go to a absolutely gosh awful organization like the Bengals. I mean, Brown needs to be relieved of his duty. He needs to be bought out. The NFL, and my dad and I were talking about this today, actually. The NFL is an old man's league. The young owners are few and far between. It's the good old boys club. And it's not good. Because people like Jerry Jones, Al Davis, Brown, The Spanos, to their credit, have done much better recently, so I'm going to exclude them for a second. But the Spanos family were known for being outrageously cheap and basically worthless owners. So, and then you got Woody Johnson of the Jets. Like, there's an aspect to this. The owners have killed these teams because they don't have any awareness. And I understand you get all that money. It's hard to be able to sell it. Well, you destroyed it. If you're Al Davis, you destroyed something your son is now having to deal with. But you don't think about that because you're too selfish. So, there's that. All right, let's get to the Ravens. Success for the Steelers, make the playoffs. Failure, it's more or less the expectation. You're going to miss the playoffs. But how many games do you win? Do you win 5 or 6? Do you win 8? How many do you win? That's really the question. All right, the Baltimore Ravens. Let's get this in because they're a lot better set up. But they do have a glaring issue. Their glaring issue is still their wide receiver. I love Zay Flowers, quick guy. You're wondering about health. I love Rashad Bateman, quick guy. Still wondering about health. DeAndre Hopkins, older, experienced guy. Health. He can be reliable. And I actually would pick him up as an option to have on the bench in most fantasy football leagues. I absolutely would pick up DeAndre Hopkins and stash him on your bench, waiting for if he's the only receiver on this team that's able to play. Absolutely would. Your strength is easily the secondary. My gosh. Nate Wiggins, Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks, Jair Alexander, and Marlon Humphrey. Now, I will fully agree with you. It depends on health for that as well. Humphrey's been injured. Alexander's been injured. Hamilton's had some issues. So I will fully agree with you on both aspects. When healthy, the wide receivers may not be the weakest, and when unhealthy, the secondary may not be the strongest. Fair statements, 100%. But I'm looking at Flowers doesn't run great routes. He's much more of a streak guy. Jackson hits Bateman most of the times on streaks or broken plays. DeAndre is your best route runner in that entire wide receiver room. And the Ravens don't have the strength of schedule is 9. And it is tough. They do have tough teams on here. They play. The first 6 weeks is really tough. At Buffalo to open up Sunday Night Football. Then you're home against Cleveland. Home against Detroit on Monday Night Football. At Kansas City. Home against Houston. And home against the Rams. Those are your first 6 weeks. Remember, this is a team that lost to the Raiders at home. This is a team that has letdown games at home relatively consistently. So, what do those first 6 weeks give you? I think you need to go a minimum of 3-3. But you're talking about teams that are all top of the league. It's a tough schedule. It is a really tough schedule. Your second half of the season mellows out. Their bye week is week 7. Starting in week 8, you get the Bears, Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, Jets. So you do get a stretch where they could easily sweep all those teams. Then you get the Bengals, Steelers, Bengals, and you close it out with Patriots, Packers, Steelers. Really simply, if they can get through that first 6, 3-3, or 4-2, or better, this team could easily go 5-1 through there. If they go undefeated, look out. They're going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. But I'm going to say 4-2, 3-3 at the worst, because each one of those teams are going to come playing hard Because when you're playing Kansas City, when you're playing Houston, when you're playing Buffalo, those games potentially are for playoff position. Those games are potentially for who gets ranked where, especially if you all end up the same record. Or if your record's different by one game, and if you would have beat them, you'd be in third or second instead of fourth. Those games are big. Absolutely huge. So, first 6 games, you got to go 3-3 or 4-2. You have to. You absolutely have to. And if you do that, success as usual. Win the division, but even more than that, I think you need to win the division and at least make the conference championship game this year. You have to make the conference championship game. Anything else is a letdown and you fell short. Now, the AFC is tough. You get in the playoffs, and most people just sidestep the Texans like they're not really a threat. Baloney. Ask Andy Reid if they're a threat or not. DeMeco Ryans has had that team set up so many times to be able to fall at this point. They play hard. They just didn't have the offensive ability to do what they needed to do. Now, I don't think the Texans have the offensive line right now. I think they need to make a trade. They need to go after Cesar Ruiz from the Saints badly. I think they need to fix the offensive line. You guys know this. But you can't discount the defense. Mahomes hates playing the Texans. He's running for his life all the time. And if it wasn't for the Zebras, would have lost. Yes, I am still sticking with it. Mahomes gets so much help from the Zebras. I go back to the game where his helmet busted. It was illegal for him to play in that playoff game for that play. Illegal. He made a helmet switch. He had to sit out a play or take a timeout. It's illegal, and he got to play. That is the problem. They can't even hide what they were doing. The refs know this. They know if a guy takes his helmet off, he's got to leave the field. He knows if the guy's helmet comes off, they immediately have to go out for a play. Why did Mahomes not? So, when you're just looking at everything all together, the Bills, Chiefs, and Texans games with the Ravens are vastly important, and they're all in the first 6 weeks. Big football, first 6 weeks. Can you recover from them? Yes. If whoever wins the Bills-Ravens game week number 1 on Sunday Night Football is not dead to rights for the rest of the season. I get that. But it's big when it comes to December and especially January. Because the records matter. And those games at the beginning of the year will count in January when you're trying to figure out playoff position. This team needs to make the conference championship game, period. That to me is success. They've got to get there. Failure, being eliminated before then. I know it's a lot of pressure, but anything below that is a failure. This team needs to win. The secondary is really good when healthy. The defense is fast. The offensive line is solid. You've got Derrick Henry. You do have a receiving core that, when healthy, can run. But we all know this. When the weather gets bad, it's not about how fast you can run. It's about whether or not you're good with your feet. Flowers, I think, probably, he may have improved. I'm going to give him a little bit of credit, saying another year, he probably improved his route running. You've only got $14.5 million in cap space. In 2026, they only have $14 million right now. Right now. In 2026. And they only have $55 million in 2027. They don't have a lot of cap room. They've got a lot of guys signed for a long time. They do. And it's good. It is. It's really good. but it does strap you. It means you have to make the most of these opportunities that are there. And it's that simple. All right, I know I made some Steeler fans mad. I know I made them mad, but multiple things can be true at once. Just because you're a great organization does not mean you're exempt from bad decisions and from setting your team up to fail at the top level. And that's the issue. That is the issue. All right, guys. Tomorrow we'll do the Browns and the Bengals. It's probably going to be a shorter one because it's really going to be short and sweet. I am not going to spend a bunch of time on Shedeur Sanders. So if you're worried about that, that ain't me. Don't worry. I'm not going to be doing a bunch on Shedeur. So that's going to be it for tonight. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your evening. Make it the best day you can tomorrow, being Thursday, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow night. As always, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you so much. Until the next one, for Sports Talk with Hawk, I am Hawk, and I'm out. Have a great night.